So imagine this, your bags are packed, you're ready to go, and you're ready to leave for your 1-year destination, but when you get there, nothing seems to go right. And there's a reason for that. There's the little things that nobody tells you about your long-term travel that we're going to discuss right now.
We're going to tell you the secrets of what to be prepared for.
Check it out.
That was good.
That was good.
Okay. All right, guys, are you ready? Are you ready for the 5 secrets that no one tells you about?
These are the things that once you get to a location, you panic and things go wrong and you don't know why because nobody told you why. Everyone talks about the great things that happen when you long-term travel and about what you're going to experience and feel and sense, but nothing ever goes perfect.
And no one tells you about the transition once you get there. So this was really incredibly traumatic for Will and I, and if you've read any of our blog posts, you know we struggled. And we will do a lot more videos about this because we believe in sharing this. So think of it, we've worked 12 months really hard to get out of Costa Rica, to get out of the United States, to go to Costa Rica, and that was almost 3 years ago. And we think, we're gonna land in the land of coffee and greenery.
And we're gonna be in Zen mode and everything is gonna be happy. And all of our troubles were gonna wash away.
Rainbows and unicorns. There were a lot of rainbows. We did not see any unicorns, just for the record.
Avalon did.
Avalon is a unicorn. Okay, so we get there and boom, what happens? Things go wrong.
Everything goes wrong.
Everything goes wrong, and we're like, why didn't anyone tell us this?
Everything we read leading up to our trip was about how great the experience is going to be, but we weren't ready for this, and there was a reason why, because nobody talked about the bad stuff.
No one talks about it, and I'll tell you.
Shame on you, those who write this stuff. Nobody talks about this.
And you know why they don't talk about it? Because you've taken off on this journey, and there are naysayers, and there are fears, and you leave all of this, and then you get to this land, and guess what? It doesn't go as you had planned. And then it's almost, if you start talking about it and sharing with other people, it's admitting failure. Well, for us, it's not admitting failure, right? This is expected. Things like this happen anytime you move or change jobs or do anything. So it needs to be talked about.
So we're going to talk about right now the top 5 things that people don't tell you about when you start to long-term travel.
That they need to tell you about.
Starting with number 1. Vacation and long-term travel, 2 different things. Way different.
You are not going on an extended vacation. Not at all.
Not unless you win the lottery.
Yes.
That can happen.
And this is work. I mean, we're not going to pretend it's not. You know, it is a lot of hard work. I think it's really important from the beginning. You're going to this exotic land. You're going to see magic and all this loveliness, and you're going to have warmth maybe if you haven't had it, or beaches, or great margaritas, or delicious salsa, whatever that may be. But you have to remember, it's not a vacation. So it's nothing like a vacation. So get that thought of that time you went to Mexico with all your friends in college and you had a great week. Wipe it from your brain.
You're not being taken care of when you long-term travel. You're taking care of yourself, but in a different location. So
it's just your regular life in a different location. I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it, right?
Right. There's no cabana boy. There's no maid. There's none of that stuff. And the issues that you have in a resort when you go to a foreign country are next to nothing because there's people there that speak your language.
Right.
When you go to a foreign country, unless you know the language, it's not going to happen.
So you just have to, I mean, to wrap up number 1, you just have to prepare yourself. But when you think of your new land and where you're going, if you've been there on vacation, just wipe it from your memory. You know, wipe it from your memory and go in with a clean slate that this is your new home and you're going to do everything you've done in your previous home. Pay bills, you're going to fight with your spouse, your kids are going to go to school. Some months you won't have enough money, you're going to get sick, you know, all that stuff. There's going to be complications.
So that's number 1.
Number 1.
Number 2, everyone's going to process the transition at their own way and pace.
And when he says everyone, he means everyone in the family. Will, Jessica, Avalon,
and Largo. We all had our own
Peanut,
way of
our
coping.
dog.
So everyone processes change different. What you're doing is you're changing your normal to a new normal, and everyone has a different way of coping with that change. Everyone is going to have their issues. Everyone's going to go through that emotional stress.
Should we touch on our issues?
No.
I think we once mentioned that these WorldTowning 101s are somewhat like therapy.
It's a little bit. So basically when we moved, let's give you our scenario. So we left Boston. And when we left Boston, we went to Costa Rica for the start of this journey that was going to last us a lifetime. And we're still calling it a lifetime at this point.
Yeah, we are.
But when we got there, everything changed.
Well, let's tell them first. The scenario is, first we bit off more than we could chew. Would you agree with that?
I don't know about that.
Really?
Did
Okay.
we bite off more than we can chew?
Well, I think
survived.
I bit off more than I could chew. I will say I did. I don't know about everyone else. So Will was used to, I was working from home alone, and Will
I was working in an office, and then all that changed. So
all that changed. And we started homeschooling one of our children. So all of a sudden,
she was used to being alone 24/7, not 24/7, but when the kids were at school, at her own work, I was used to being in an office. Suddenly the dynamic changed where we were working together.
and I like to work in a quiet space, and he is like,
I like ambient noise in the background. I like a lot of noise in the background.
and Avalon's kind of a cross between the two of us. So not only did we bite off more than we could chew, but everyone was processing this new work environment, this new schooling environment, this new family dynamic, all in different ways.
And we were learning how to homeschool for the very first time,
right.
which was really tough.
Which was really tough.
And Avalon was learning how to be homeschooled for the very first time, which was even tougher.
Right. We were learning about new foods. We had to buy a car. We bought a lemon. It broke down as we drove it away. I mean,
Cultures are different. Service quality is different. Everything is different. What you expect to be normal where you're at right now is going to be totally different from where you're going to.
And
it's not their fault.
and everyone's gonna process it differently, and that was a big challenge with us because we were so busy processing our own stuff
bad.
that personally I could not process anything of what Will was going through. I couldn't even help him. I was processing myself, the children.
She was going through her own issues. I had my issues. I needed her support. She was like, forget you. I've got my own issues. We didn't have each other's support because we were trying to deal with our own problems.
We were just trying to survive.
We were drowning.
I mean, we were really drowning. This was the biggest thing for me because I was not prepared for this. This was not our life in the United States. We were there for each other. We processed things very easily. And then when I started to reach out to people saying, oh my gosh, what is this? Oh yeah, that's normal. Why didn't you tell me this? So we're here to tell you now, we're still married. We're on our third country.
We've survived, and it gets easier with the next move.
Yeah, I mean, we can process a move like that now. I mean, really, really
So
lightning.
good you can do it by yourself.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. I did do it by myself.
Twice.
Yeah, twice. Can you imagine?
Amazing.
No wonder I processed it so well.
All right, so that's number 2. All right, so number 3, your fears and anxieties and everything else that worries you is magnified intensely in the very beginning.
These were fears that you initially had, and maybe you backburnered or you thought, I'm scared about this, but not super scared. They come to the surface. And they come to the surface, even though they're not warranted, everything is heightened. Like we said, everyone's processing differently, and everything, everything kind of comes to the surface.
Our
right?
biggest example is when we actually got to Costa Rica, we were really scared about how we're going to homeschool our kid. Were we qualified to teach our kid?
I think we're still scared.
But eventually what we realized is that no matter how bad it can get, and it can get bad, it always gets better because you learn to adapt. And we were questioning ourselves every night saying, were we doing this the right way? Are we ruining our kids' lives? The whole thing about kids and socialization, our fears of that was being huge because we didn't realize that, guess what? Kids are kids and they're going to play with whoever they can get their hands on.
Oh my gosh, that was such a ridiculous fear. I mean, we'll do a whole video series on that. That was the craziest fear, right?
But those things come out and you're going to start second guessing yourself. You're going to start saying, let's pack up and go now because I'm ready, because this is not working.
I mean, the great thing about fear is that, so the bad thing is it can be very debilitating, right? But it can also be very liberating because you will rise above those fears. You will overcome them. Each day it'll get easier. You'll talk to your tribe. We're your tribe. You get to a place, message us if you're struggling. I mean, I'm dealing with someone right now who's struggling, and every day it's getting better and better and better for them.
And talk to each other. I mean, that is, for us, I think one of the biggest things that, as much as we were fearful and we were out there trying to make sense of what was going on, ultimately we just sat together as a family and we just talked to each other and said, this is what's happening. How do we get over this? And one would say, what do you mean get over it? This is not a problem, this is the problem. And then we all sort of powwow around each other and say, your problem's not a big deal, mine's a big deal. And then
and we involve the kid. Right, well, I mean, I think it's great for them at a young age to see these fears and to see us to deal with them together and rise above them. I mean, they're gonna have fear in life. It's gonna happen. So they're going to need to be able to deal with it and speak with whoever they're with at the time and resolve it.
So that's number 3. So number 4 is, your problems are yours before you left, and your problems will be there after you leave.
They're coming with you. They are going with you.
You cannot escape your problems or responsibilities no matter where you are. So it's really important to get yourself in check before you travel because the emotions that you have are going to be massive. And if you don't know who you are before you leave,
absolutely,
and you think you're leaving for a reason to escape those problems, those problems are not going away.
And I think you really hit it right there. Okay, the problems are not going away, the responsibilities are not going away. And don't think going is going to make them go away. If anything, it's going to, for us, I've really found a rise to the top of things, any issues that we had with anything in our life, with our work, in our relationship, they've only been magnified and kind of brought to the surface, and they've said to us, deal with us now. I feel like traveling has really brought us to kind of down to the core, and in essence, where we have to deal with everything immediately.
There's more of a sense of ownership of who you are and how you live your life, and all that does is basically give rise to all those things that you think that you're trying to avoid. You have to confront that right away.
So we're not saying don't go if you have any problems, right?
But
everyone has problems. No one's perfect.
Be ready for this.
But be ready for it and be ready to deal with them.
But this also goes into line with the fact that you're not on vacation either. So you're not going to go ahead and move to another location and think that you're not going to have to take your kids to school or have to deal with groceries, have to deal with people who are not thinking like you because they don't drive like you, and you get really irritated by that.
Can you see the drivers in Costa Rica?
That happens everywhere, and that's not going away.
Number 5.
Number 5, and this is the most eye-opening one that I think that you will come across, because you think that this will not happen to you, but it will happen to you.
You're going to this new land. Everyone's going to visit, and almost everyone's supportive, right?
Everyone says, oh, we're so happy for you. This is the best move you've ever made for yourself.
I mean, there will be some naysayers, right? I mean, we've all had them. In the end, the true friends and true family will rise to the top in support for you. But don't be surprised that people that you thought were going to be super supportive just kind of disappear or get more vocal and don't support you.
You will truly find out, you doing this life, when you leave, who actually are your biggest supporters and who are not. And that's fine, because you know what? They probably weren't great friends to start with. But second of all, you'll find that some people you thought was not a really great supporter of you is probably your biggest fan in the world.
And some of the people that are the behind the scenes people that are cheering for you, and they say, oh, I read your blog every day, or follow YouTube, and you haven't spoken to them in years. Make sure that you recognize those people and really thank them, because you're going to need them. It's not going to be easy, like we've said. You're going to need this support system. But don't be surprised that your best friend, who you did everything with and had coffee 3 times a week, all of a sudden it's like you've dropped off the face of the earth. It will happen. Some people are out of sight, out of mind people. Some people are what you do for me. If you can't do anything for me, well, you're gone, A
lot of it can be really disappointing, and honestly, there is a lot of heartache when it comes to that, because because those who you thought sometimes were really true blue just fade away. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they need someone who is more in their face all the time to command that attention that they deserve.
And we don't want this to be like, oh, I will say on the flip side, and even though it's not part of this video, I'm going to address it. The support that we have received from people we didn't know, we met online, other travelers we met, locals in places that we've lived that have become almost as close as family, if not family, people will rise to the top, and that will be one of your greatest blessings in this travel life, are those people that support you. They are there. The people that said, oh my gosh, what are you doing? You're screwing up your career, you're screwing up your kids, you're living in your 20s, you're putting them in dangerous situations. The people that said that before you left, those people, some of them will come around. They'll see how happy you are and how fulfilled and how happy your kids are and your family connection. And they will say, I made a mistake.
I mean, they say that you can only really count on one hand how many true friends you have. This is a true test of that.
It is, and I think that's great what you say. That's a true test. It really is an absolute true test, because they're either there for you or they're not, right? There's no kind of faking it.
So that's it. Those are our top 5 things that no one tells you about before you start this travel life.
And we're going to tell you. We're telling you.
Should know, because if you don't know it before you go, you'll definitely find out after you leave.
And you want to be prepared, right? I mean, I would have loved to have known all this beforehand so that we could say to each other, Will, we're going to process this differently. Let's prepare ourselves, right?
I don't think we ever, you just really can't process. That's
we didn't even consider any of this stuff. I mean, we really didn't consider it. I'm being honest. I was like, la, 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 we're going to Costa Rica.
Okay, so let's find out what you guys think. If you guys are long-term travelers at this point, you've been traveling about for a long time, what are the things that you've dealt with that we haven't talked about today?
What should we add to the list? I mean, put it in the comments, and next time we do one of these videos, maybe we'll make it longer and add some more in there. I think it's really important to prepare people who are getting ready to launch or thinking about it for what it's really like those first couple of weeks, and for us, months.
And if you're looking to go, give us a shout out and let us know what concerns you have as well, because maybe, you know, they're concerns for you, but maybe not concerns for someone else, and maybe there's a way that we can tackle that.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. That's a very good point.
So we're going to end this here. Thanks for watching.
Thank
Make sure
you,
to
guys.
subscribe and check us out next week on WorldTowning 101, where we'll be in Paris.
We'll be in Paris next week.
So we're really excited by that. But thanks for hanging out and keep on traveling.
Au revoir.
Ciao. All right, number 3. Fears
Sorry. I'm going to try different smiles.
Okay.
We're recording, but we don't know what we're recording yet, do we?
So imagine...
Wait. There's a bug right in front of me.
What are you doing?
There's a bug.
Get him!
Okay, there's a bug still. Okay, here we go.